Dolphin fans. One, two, three, let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're going to crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, 80, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as we meet you here at the Finish Line. As always, I am joined by the legendary Richmond Webb, the Triple OG Mr. BallGame. Gentlemen, we are in the lull of the offseason. Probably the slowest time all year is probably May. How you coping? How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's like you say, it's just this time of year. So all of the draft is over. You got, quarterback camps or OTA, stuff like that going on, but not much. But NBA playoffs are going on, so glad to see the Heat made it to the Eastern Conference Final. I'll be rooting for them. But this last weekend, I've been traveling a little bit. Went to Birmingham, Alabama. My college coach, Jackie Sherrill, got put in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame and ran into some old Dolphin teammates, George Teague, Hugh Green, and Bobby Humphrey. So saw those guys there. And saw Jimbo Covert and Mark May, two guys, great playing offensive line. So got a chance to kind of chop it up with them. So it was a great weekend. And then I went from there to Columbia, South Carolina. My youngest daughter has an internship over there. So we dropped her off and then got back to Houston yesterday. So I'm a little tired, but other than that, everything is good. And, man, I ain't got no complaints. But you're right. This is a slow time of year. It's kind of be expected with football, but like I say, NBA playoffs, baseball. I think hockey's still going on. So some stuff, but as far as the Dolphins, not a whole lot, but that don't matter. We just scratch the days off the calendar getting ready for the season. So how you doing, Mr. BallGame? Mr. BallGame.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, so for me, to be honest with you, this is probably the best time of the year. And I say that only because as a coach-minded individual, this is the prep time. This is where we're at the whiteboard going through concepts and thinking about personnel and possibilities of how you're going to maximize those personnel before you actually get a chance to actually be live and in front of them. And this is the think tank. This is a think tank time where you actually get to bounce off ideas and look at things that previously from the year before that didn't work, and look at things that guys did well and trying to incorporate those things into the plan moving forward, both offensively and defensively. And this is what coaches really earn their money. That by the time you get to the season, I believe that, you know what I'm saying, with the way the NFL schedule is, there's not really a lot of time for a lot of major tweaks. So you have a lot of those things already pre-planned and built into your off-season plans, almost also so much to the point that, like, it's a recap of the things you did well from the previous season, and then you start adding as much as you can of the second phase of the installs, especially for Mike. His is probably most important because he's still, you know what I'm saying, fairly new head coach, and you know what I'm saying, this time of the year. But it's a very exciting time of the year because this is, like I said, when coaches really earn their money. And Vic, being a vet at this process, is probably sitting there, you know what I'm saying, like the mad professor, you know what I'm saying, thinking of all these different coverages and all these things that and all these possibilities, really, because if you think about the flexibility he's got and he's going to have with Ramsey and Howard, you know what I'm saying, that in itself makes you giddy just to the possibilities of different new coverages that he can come up with and things like that. So it's slow, but it's not slow for those that have been accustomed to being, you know what I'm saying, in the think tanks, you know, per se. But for fans, yeah, it's probably and content creators and things of that nature. So we don't have a lot to talk about, but there's a lot going on. And I think this is really where the Dolphins' major success, especially down deep in the season when the schedule starts to really become and games start to become really more crucial. This is where you get those wins at, you know. So it's really good time.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, yeah, because now you're starting to, you know, you've got a hold of your schedule, right? You know where you're going to be, and you can start piecing the puzzle together. Right now is the perfect time while everyone is, you know, a lot of the players are using, well, I don't know what they did back in Richmond's day, but I know, like, players right now, you know, they're basically going till early June, you know, getting their workouts and everything in. And then, you know, and then they'll report into camp not too long after that, right? So, you know, that's why, you know, that's why I do my stuff with Nick Hicks at the beginning of June, because that's when he starts to slow down with all the NFL players, right? They start going back to their cities, et cetera, because, you know, Dalvin Cook is with them and James Cook and all those guys, Devin Singletary, they all start going back to their cities and stuff. And, you know, even Nick slows down in early June, right? So, yeah, it's kind of like the last push, right? You know, you kind of, it's that last push before training camp, really, for you got, you know, you got the coaches putting together exactly what you said, putting everything together, and you got the players getting themselves, making that last push to be prepared for camp right now. So while everyone, you're right, you know, while it is a lull for everyone else, it's the last push for the staff and for the players before they really start getting deep into training camp, right? So, especially the rookies, they just got I mean, Richmond can account for this. They got the playbook how long ago? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they ain't got it yet.
Yeah. You know, imagine the work they're putting in right now, the rookies, right? And we're going to talk about the rookies tonight too, because that's our main topic here. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Before we get into everything, though, I want to get your guys' opinion on something. Yesterday, I did a show, and I talked about how the most important Miami Dolphin in 2023 is Tua Tagovailoa, right? You know, you see, you know, you look at. I read an article from Pro Football Network, and they went by scoring behavioral rate. So what they were saying is when Tua, before the first concussion, when Tua was at the helm of our offense, check this one out, guys. We were scoring 0.9, so almost a single point per offensive minute. All right, so you got the ball 30 minutes, we're scoring 30 points, basically. All right, like ridiculous, okay? Top of the league, all right? He goes out, guys. He goes out, that first concussion, we dropped to it was either 0.54 or 0.56 points per minute with him out. Okay, he comes back. Check this one out. Now this is where you get into it. Yeah, so he gets back. All right, he gets us back up to 0.89 points per minute. Okay? That was the biggest discrepancy all year between a starting quarterback coming back in for his replacements. Biggest all year, okay? He goes out the second time. We drop down to 0.46 points per minute, and that's the biggest discrepancy for replacements filling in for starter all season. All right? Like, you're talking almost a point a minute to under half a point a minute. And then people said, well, we got Mike White, right? We got Mike White, right? Guess what? In Mike White's 4 games, 0.47 points per minute. And if you look at his first game, remember he had that big game against Chicago? Literally, every game over that, the 3 losses after that, they got 6 times worse each game in their scoring behavioral rate per minute. So Mike White ain't the savior. And then I went even deeper, guys. I showed everyone Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Okay, 15 touchdowns between the two of them. None of them came from a hand outside of Tua's. Tua threw all 15, okay? Even go deeper. Jalen Waddle was averaging more than 30 yards less per game receiving without Tua in there. Hill was averaging about 12 yards less, but he was still getting the same amount of targets. But you're really seeing the discrepancy with Waddle. And what did we notice last year, boys? Remember when Jacoby Brissett came in 2021, Waddle would disappear, right? Even when he was the main guy, Waddle would disappear with Jacoby Brissett out there.
Right.
I want to get your guys' thoughts on that because, I said, you look at it. Is Tua the most talented on our offense? No. You could make the argument Tyreek is more talented. You can make the argument Waddle's more talented. You can make the argument Teron Armstead's more talented. There's guys you can make arguments for. But, we always talk about how crucial the quarterback is. Have you ever seen a situation like this when I throw those numbers at you that's more critical to this offense and really stresses how much Mike McDaniel's been preaching? You can have the big arm Tua, you can big arm Herbert, you can have all these guys, but Tua's the perfect fit for his offense. What do you guys think about when I say he's the most important Miami Dolphin for 2023?
Well,
Go ahead, Rich.
I mean, when you look at it, I think this offense does fit him. And I think that's what you can attribute to a coach like McDaniel because, and we've even talked about it on the show, and you've brought it up before, Reason, that even when he was in San Francisco, there were parts of his offensive system that he couldn't do with Jimmy Garoppolo because different skill set or whatever, this and that. But, the way Tua goes through progressions and spot on with his quick throws and this and that, I think we're going to even see even more this year. I think the thing with Tua is just to keep him healthy. The concussion was a big factor, but just him understanding for the long haul of the season, if you got to tuck it and get out where you don't take that big hit, take it and get out because we need you for the majority of the season and not for you to take, blows like that, trying to make a play or extend the drive or snap. There are going to be times when you can do that, but there are going to be times when you got to be smart and say, hey, okay, we move the change. Let's play a field position, deal, this and that. And, it's a long game because, that is impressive to almost a point a minute, this and that. And there are going to be times when that average, if you kind of went over the whole season, probably go down a little bit because the more games you play, it's harder to kind of maintain that. But I don't think it goes down. I still think it stays probably around 0.775, something like that, which is amazing. And if you do that, I think you're definitely a playoff team. So I think the key is keeping him healthy and keeping the main guys healthy because when he's in there, it affects other guys and it affects their production, especially offensively. Like you said, I didn't even know that about Jalen Waddle, but 30 yards, you figure
it's like 32 yards to be exact. It's like 32 yards to be exact.
That's a lot. You figure 5 or 6 games, that's 200 yards. You add 200 yards to his overall season average.
They broke the record. They would break the record. If Tua didn't miss the 5 games, they would have broke the record and be the most successful duo in terms of yardage between a duo. They would have broke the. They were only off by it was like 167 yards.
Yeah, and that's not even adding in what, even though Tyreek's was less, if you add that in, it just shows you the importance that I think Chris Greer, I think everybody understands that we got to keep number one healthy. and that's going to determine, how this team progresses this year. I think I love that the expectations are high, and I think we're going to be really happy because I think this is the year we kind of take off and go to that next level.
BallGame, your thoughts?
I think last year when we was breaking down footage over the season and when things got a little out of sorts with Tua, we recognized that Waddle's production suffered as a result of it, and anybody that really understands the analytics associated with the game can look at the numbers. One thing's for certain about football: after you get back, when you get an opportunity to go back and you sit down and look at the numbers, especially in terms of wins versus losses, the numbers tell you the whole story of what really happens out on the field. And then when you don't have a guy that the offense is designed around to be either distributing the ball to the areas of the field that are most crucial for receivers like the ones that we have to actually be able to get off and get loose, then the offense is going to be affected wholeheartedly. And that's I think that's a gift and a curse, because you'd like to be able to be in a system that, whoever's behind that guy can come and still have some similar level of productivity. But unfortunately, our situation really is completely around the fact that Tua has some special skill sets that are just God-given. And no matter how much you try to go through the process of manufacturing them, you're just not going to have it. So that's why I think it's more important for us than anything else that Mike stays balanced across the board, and it puts puts more pressure on defenses to stay true to their run defenses as well as their pass defenses, because we all know if we get in a situation where guys get to go through the process of pinning their ears back to come get us, it's more of a chance then for him to get hurt and get hit on some fluke play, things of that nature. But we get the balance of the run game in there, and the guys up front and do their jobs in the trenches to make sure that those holes and the blocking up front for the run game is also there effectively enough to be able to keep teams balanced. Then you don't have to necessarily worry about productivity, because then they have to honor that run. You can play pass, you can play action pass off of it, and at the same time, productivity by the guys to make big plays is still there, because you can still load up your shots. You can still take your outside shots to make to move the chain, affect the intermediate areas of the field, because now you got the linebackers guessing about whether they should stay, dropping coverage, or take their read steps to come down and try to fill in holes, all that stuff. But a lot of this stuff still falls at the feet of Mike, and I do believe that he'll be a lot better. But in the sense, Tua has to just make sure that he stays able to effectively keep the balance, right? I mean, if a team is giving you pass, that don't necessarily mean you have to take it. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to go out and still practice your run, even when you know you got the pass open to you, just because you want to be able to have that balance when you need it later down in this. But, those numbers don't surprise me, man. We looked at that. We thought about that, and we talked about it. And when we went back and looked at a lot of the games, we knew that, the productivity from the other quarterbacks just wasn't going to be there, because this kid's special. So.
Yeah, we don't like to bring up college too much still because it was so long ago, but even you look at his best college years was when they had the running game going at Bama. He's one of those quarterbacks, and the style of our offense, that short,
the rhythm, man,
quick hitting, the short to intermediate, middle of the field stuff really opens up when you run the football. Really, that's when that middle of the field, they just can't protect it because they got to honor the run, right? So, yeah, and especially when you add a weapon we're going to talk about it, but if you got a guy like Devin A-Chain, and you got a guy like Raheem Moser with his home run ability, or if you had a guy like Alvin Cook, they also threaten that level too, where you even got to especially honor it even more, right? So, all right. So, Richmond said something key there about keeping Tua upright, keeping number one upright is what he said. So I got to ask you boys, because everyone wants to know, because they've heard my thoughts on it. Let me hear you guys. Isaiah Wynn, who they added from, played at Georgia, played under Dante Sarnecchia, one of the best offensive line coaches to ever be in the game with New England. And they went out and they also signed Cedric Ogbuehi. So Cedric Ogbuehi and Isaiah Wynn, Isaiah Wynn, he played right tackle last year. Matt Patricia was not only the offensive coordinator, he was the offensive line coach, and decided to move a guy who's played the left side his whole career to right tackle, and it just, you know, he had his probably best game was against us, really. But you know, he had his moments. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. You look at that guy, you know, Cedric Boy. He's played right tackle and left tackle. Boys, where it really pops out to me for Isaiah Wynn is left guard. You know, I think you put him in that battle with Eichenberg, and I think he can beat Eichenberg. And I think he can also be that, you know, Eichenberg can fill in for him when he kicks out. If Armstead misses time, he then can kick out to left tackle. Your guys' thought, do these signings move the needle for you at all? Because we know offensive tackle protecting Tua has been such a talking point all off season, even during the season, for years now, actually. Richmond, let's start with you. Do these signings move the needle for you, and your thoughts on them?
I would say they move the needle a little bit for me, and I think what I look at is you add two veterans versus trying to build or strengthen the offensive line unit through, you know, drafting guys or whatever. These guys have some playing experience, like you said, at both positions, right and left tackle, this and that. And I think what it looks at for me is it should wake up Austin Jackson and Eichenberg to where they say, hey, they're bringing in some veterans, and these guys kind of know the routine, like you said, come from New England, a disciplined team, this and that, come from under Belichick, this and that. So I'm sure those guys will want to come here and sit on the bench. So I think it definitely is you got to really be on your A game. If not, you know, some of these guys can get unseated, but I think that's what we need. And if we can solidify one out of those two positions, that helps us out tremendously. So I think it's not the big signings that I think we were all waiting that we would go out and grab a big time tackle in free agency, this and that. But for them to keep adding, you know, good solid players, this and that, that'll make a difference. So it's not like we go from empty to full, but it definitely moved the needle for me, and it should move the needle to where those guys can't be just comfortable and say, well, based on the guys we've got in camp now, I don't have to really worry about it. I'm gonna be the starter, this and that, blah blah blah. And I don't think they're thinking that way. And then the other thing is, like Austin Jackson, this is your money year, so that should be motivation enough to say, yeah, I was hurt last year. I started out playing good, but I need to perform extremely well this year, because if I do, it determines the payday, whether it's from the Dolphins or whatever, that I get after that. So he's got a couple things to motivate him. But I think overall as a team, I think that was the offensive unit we were most concerned about, the offensive line, because we added some guys in the draft, but it was kind of late. We didn't go out and get the free agent signings that we thought we would get. And I think that left fans concerned, especially with, you know, we were just talking about Tua and how important it is to protect him. But going out and add these guys, I think it added a little depth in this. So I'm cool with it. I'm happy to see they did bring in some veterans.
From a coaching perspective, man, I think the one thing you always want to have more than anything is competition. And if a guy is truly a dog, that part of him will awaken, and you'll see it as soon as you need to see it, and often as you need to see it, so that he can keep the guy behind him on the bench. I think when I have conversations with my sons about, you know, saying the Dolphins offensive line, I always ask them the same question: who really available? Because if a guy is truly a quality player, quality like high end top player, like ain't nobody really trying to let that guy go. So then you got to go through the old school methods of going out and grabbing you a quality coach, somebody that's been able to move the needle and performance of guys that's got to work together. And the year in and year out has proven that he can take a group that nobody gave any shot, and they improved across the board in run and pass blocking. And they did that, right? I mean, even in the NFL, I always talk about this, right? People always say, go get the name. But hell, the name still has to have somebody behind them that's going to be a dude to tweaking, right? And the Dolphins did that. They went out and got a really good offensive line coach, the guy that was up in Denver that everybody was talking about, but for 2 straight years, he moved the numbers for that group. That group actually, and based on all them injuries they had and things of that nature, he was able to have some success in terms of their numbers. So I think that going out and getting a guy like Wynn, who is still pretty young, right, and still able to be coached up and things of that nature, puts instant heat on Eichenberg. And you know what? There's no shame if Eichenberg loses out to this guy because Austin, to me, still has a couple of years to grow into that grown man body of his. Like people, we say, well, we won't say, oh, he in the NFL, but that don't mean he necessarily grown. He ain't 25 yet. Hell, he can't even qualify for his own insurance discount yet, and that's what happens at 25. So in theory, he's still a kid looking to be coached. You know what I'm saying? And I look at it in that form and fashion, but it's going to exponentially speed up his growth. His desire, it should anyway, if he's a real dog, grow his desire to be on the field. And if he wins a job and they do slide a guy like Wynn in there and got beat some out, there's no shame. The guy has more NFL experience, and that just makes things better for us in terms of, one, he wasn't able to beat out Austin, but he was able to beat out Eichenberg. So then maybe Austin Jackson does give us what we've been anticipating, hoping for. And then at the very least, we got 4.5 because, you never know the tackle position, but, 4.5 spots filled as opposed to only 4, or you got 2 glaring spots still available, and none of these guys go in and win the spots, and that's a bad thing. But I don't think that's the case. I think they went out and looked at productivity, and they looked at guys that still have a lot left to be able to prove that can come in and be coachable and have some nastiness about them. And, both of these guys fit the bill. And I don't know
about
all the time. Don't get wrapped up in the names.
I don't know about Boy.
Well,
I don't even know if he gets out of. I don't even know if he gets out of camp. To be honest with you,
I think it's okay. Training camp body then, but at least, but Isaiah Wynn at least I think was
because you almost hit the nail on the head. Almost, I thought you were going to go there, but you kind of drifted away from it. He's 27 years old. If you hit on him right now,
right?
Listen, I was talking to someone about this. He clearly bided his time. First of all, we gave him basically almost all of our cap we have left. He's the reason why we haven't signed our rookie class. If you actually do the math, okay, we gave him almost the $3 million we have left. We got to wait till June 1st to sign our rookie class, right? So you look at this right now. He's clearly going to play. He's been biding his time, and if we knew they were telling UDFAs, hey, we're going to bring you in here and you'll have a chance to compete, what do you think they're telling someone like that? I bet you McDaniel looked at him and said, listen, because I went over this on my show. Dante Scarnecchia, former, worked under Bill Belichick for almost 20 years, okay?
Right.
He was last October, so during the season, gentlemen, he was on the radio and telling people not only is Isaiah Wynn savable, he needs to get out of there. And I think he was sitting there, and I think he said to himself, listen, because I see, I had a little rant yesterday. I saw people gatekeeping of where he's going to play. People who I know don't even know how to watch film or watch film for that fact, gatekeeping of where he's going to go. And my whole issue is he played guard, was very successful at Georgia. He's played left tackle. He was successful under Dante Scarnecchia. He looked out of position. We talked about this how many times at nauseum?
Out of position, right? Though
for players, right? With Richmond, how many times have we talked about this? You got to retrain your body because you got to end your kick slide, everything you're leading, hand placement, everything you're leading with your right side now. It's like retraining your body. Like you need to be a high intelligence player with good athleticism, and you got to have quick feet, and you got to have quick traits to you. Wynn just isn't there. Like he doesn't have all that stuff. He's got quick feet and stuff, but he doesn't have all that stuff. You look at him, he's just so natural on the left side. I feel like McDaniel was like, listen, we're going to put you in competition with Liam Eichenberg. And because Teron Armstead won't play 90% of the training camp, we're going to test you at left tackle. You have a chance to be our swing left tackle and win that left guard job. So you won't leave the field even if Armstead, like I think that's what the plan is with him. And if you hit with him on year one, I mean, you've got your left side figured out between him and Armstead, right? And I think I think Cedric Ogbuehi, I think that's Austin Jackson's competition. Remember, their first Ogbuehi was drafted like 21st or 23rd overall by Cincinnati.
First round picks, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just how this seems to be going. But I saw another thing, talking about Austin Jackson and Eichenberg boys. I saw people trying to make the argument, oh well, we give Tua, 3 years. does people forget Tua had the Arizona game in year 1? You're talking about a guy who regularly flashed while he was being held back by an incompetent coaching staff and a lack of personnel around him. He's constantly flashed compared to 2 other guys where we said, well, they may have looked like they were turning the corner before they got injured. That's a totally different ball game, okay? Tua Tagovailoa earned the further investment. Jackson and Liam Eichenberg have earned nothing, and that's what's baffling everyone about why they keep giving them this chance. If they had flashed and they were looking like high level, they could be high level guys at their position before they got injured, do you think any of us would be complaining? No, we'd be saying, yo, we want them to stay healthy. Instead of us, we're saying, yo, they're jabronis when they're playing and they can't stay healthy. So tell us how we're winning in this one right now.
My thing is always this, bro. I think across the board, when I take a look at them, I have a high expectation of, based on where the Jackson was taken, I have a high.
Yeah, but
we all have a high expectation of productivity from him.
Yeah, but we knew that was a bad pick. We knew that was a panic pick.
But I always say the first 2 years, though, the first 2 years of him being there was a crap show because there was all these moving chairs of the coaching staff and all this stuff. So that was really
same for Tua, but Tua still flashed.
These kids, but yeah. Well, I think we're talking about 2 different levels of athletes, though. Like we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about a talented athlete and
that Lexus. Mid. We're talking about that Lexus, and then we're talking about a Toyota Corolla. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Jalopy, not even a Corolla. Jalopy, bro. A jalopy. Yeah, bro, I've watched Richmond Webb and Jake Long don those uniforms, bro. This guy couldn't even, he wouldn't even get Richmond's Gatorade right, and breaks. All right? Like, come on, bro. This guy couldn't even tie their laces. Well, if they had flashed, bro, Robert Hunt. Okay, look at Robert Hunt. Okay, perfect. Robert Hunt. They haven't extended Robert Hunt, and he's going to be a free agent after next year, right? So let's use Robert Hunt as an example. Right. Robert Hunt, we can all agree he hasn't hit that all-pro ceiling, Pro Bowl ceiling yet. We can agree that, but we can also agree we've seen it. We've seen the flashes of it. We've seen, we've seen doses of it. We have not seen anything near that with those 2 guys. That's the issue. And we already knew. What was the problem with Liam Eichenberg? See, because it's deeper than giving chances. The problem with Liam Eichenberg, and we knew this, and I hated the pick because of it. Low-level athlete, slow feet, needs to be a perfect technician to stand a chance at the next level. And he is anything but a perfect technician. Right. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's actual fundamental football issues here as to why these guys aren't going to work out. That's my issue here. And we can all agree he doesn't have the anchor to work on the inside. Now, he might be different now. I don't know. I haven't seen him in training camp yet, so I'll give him that benefit of the doubt. I won't hunt the anchor until I see him. But that's another thing too, right? Like, that's what my issue. You look at Austin Jackson, I get why they might want to put more because he's got the traits. He's got the quick feet. He's got the size, et cetera, et cetera. I get that. But Liam Eichenberg, I mean, brother, he's a couple Twinkies away from having the same amount of traits that I do.
I'm not making any, I'm not going to make no.
I think with Austin Jackson, I think the thing that why people are so critical on him is he was drafted in the first round.
You're right about that.
And he was drafted off athletic ability, and he was drafted when he was 20 years old, where he would have benefited if he would have stayed in college at least another year to get some more experience. But people don't want to hear that. It's like when you're a first round pick, they expect you to produce. They expect you to pick it up. They don't want excuses. They want production. And he's kind of fell into that along with injury. So that's the biggest thing with him is, he's got to show it because people tired of saying, well, this and that. They don't want to hear excuses. They want production.
Well, we also, I hate to be the one that goes to the history because I hate when people do this. Or like, Alabama never produced. But if you look at the Pac-12, how many big-time tackles has the Pac-12 ever produced? Actually, think about it, though, bro. I've actually looked it up. They produced a couple interior guys, but they don't produce big-time tackles out of the Pac-12, too.
Yeah, a lot of them come out of big teams.
You know what the deal is. You played in the SEC. They think. Everyone thinks the Pac-12 is softer, bro. That's what you know.
I played in the SWC. I'm old school, Pippin.
Okay, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I'll throw you in there because the Aggies are in there. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
No, I
you
do. I
know,
mess. You know, I got to mess with you, bro.
the Pac-12 is seen as kind of soft, bro. Like, one of my things, you go back and watch my evaluation from a couple of years ago, looks like Tarzan plays like Jane, was literally one of the first things I ever said about Austin Jackson on this channel.
I remember that. We went through it about that too, but it's true. You know what I mean? I think the thing that there's never gonna be no perfect answer, but it's frustrating to know that we've come to this point and it's still not figured out yet, right? And hoping that this coach, man, that's a lot. It's a lot to ask of a coach to come in and fix this guy because there's so much stuff that has to be unpacked and figure out exactly what he can do well and what he can't do well. You know what I mean? And he has to be willing to share those old habits and take from was it Frank Smith, right?
Yeah,
take
our
from
offensive
Frank.
Coordinator. Butch Berry's the offensive line coach.
The line coach. What's the line coach name?
Butch Berry.
Right? But yeah, take from him what he brings to the table to help him, right? And you know, I just think that if he's smart, he'll just become a sponge at this point, man, and just because that's the only thing you got. Otherwise, you're gonna be somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be somewhere doing security for somebody shortly. You know what I'm saying?
So, guys, the man with the security route.
well, I'm just saying, you know, when you got a human that big, the first thing is they, you know what I'm saying, and then guys gonna challenge you too because they saw you get your butt kicked on Sundays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So, I would.
How tough are you really? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I just bull rush him. It's over. He's on his heels. All right. So ESPN, they came out with their power rankings after the NFL draft. And you know, so here it is. I want to see your guys' thoughts on it. So they had Kansas City right now. They're the number 1 team on their power rankings heading into the season. The Bengals are number 2. So they both haven't moved. The Philadelphia Eagles have moved up from 4 to 3 since after post-free agency. The Bills have moved up from 5 to 4. The San Francisco 49ers dropped from 3 to 5, while the Dolphins are at 6, and they say our most improved is defense. They say Miami took an underperforming, albeit banged-up defense from a season ago and upgraded in the form of newly hired defensive coordinator Vic Fangio and former all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Adding linebacker David Long could prove to be the under-the-radar signing of the year as he helps solidify the middle of the Dolphins' defense. With Fangio at the helm and young talent at every level, Miami could push for top 10 production on both sides of the ball this year. Okay, so I got a 2-pronged question for y'all, and let's start with BallGame. Your thoughts on that ranking? I think it's pretty fair. And also, one of the main topics of the show today, did Miami truly fix their defense this offseason in a short period of time? Do you think they fixed it with depth and, you know, certain positions? Do you think they've solidified themselves? Has Miami fixed their defense that clearly underperformed from last year? And your thoughts on the ranking? Muted.
The ranking I don't have an issue with, only because I think if we had been anywhere, if there had been any other teams that hadn't had some level of high level of success ahead of us, then I would have had a problem with it. But the fact is, when you look at this team and you stack them up against those 5 teams ahead of them, none of those teams really, if you know, outside of the biasness of the fact that everybody's going to put Mahomes up there, we can match up with any of them. Our roster is as deep, as talented as any of those teams. So to be number 6 on that thing, I'd say it's 1A. I mean, it's 1, then it's A, and it's B, C, D, E, and F in that order, because any of those teams any given week, I think, can flip-flop and be the top team. So I don't have a problem with that. I think in terms of when you go and you think about what we did in terms of the leadership that we added on the defensive side of the ball, Fangio, that Fangio signing knocked the ball completely out the park. And then you went back and you got Jalen Ramsey to go give you elite cornerback play that going probably some go further than what we got from Jones, because I think Byron Jones was completely underappreciated, really, when you think about it in terms of what he was asked to do every Sunday, and it gave X the ability to go over there and be Superman. You feel me? Because Jones quietly went about doing his job. Having Jalen on one side and X on the other, that in itself puts you right back in the elite category for top secondary. Now you got Holland, who doesn't have to go play help ball out on the boundary anymore, can be able to be up on the perch doing what he does best. And then whoever they put in there as the starting box safety, I think across the board, the Long signing was amazing because he's going to add some toughness to the middle of this defense. You factor that with some of the athleticism of Jerome. You can get some of these exotic packages in there. The pass rushing capabilities of Chubb and Phillips, all led behind this mind of Fangio. That puts us clearly right back in the mix. The offense already made a name for themselves. It was the defense that was the biggest question. And when you can take a guy like Fangio, whose leadership is renowned throughout the league, and couple it with this level of athleticism that we have on this team right now, with even the guys that are coming back like Nick Needham and Brandon Jones and those guys, adding with Kahu, you know what I'm saying? It rounds out damn near one of the most athletic and physically gifted defenses in the league. Mm-hmm. Now they just got to put it all together. Obviously we know that, names on a piece of paper don't win games, but the players seem to be all about just getting to the next level together. And, the team concept, they adopted that years ago, right? Right after they signed Tyreek, the first thing they was talking about was team. We do everything together. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no individual ball here. It's all about moving forward, moving the Dolphins to the next plateau. So I'm okay with it, bro. And I think overall they did. I think they did exactly what they needed to do to put us in a position to go out and get one. Now we just got to, like I said, the biggest thing is going to be now for us is just staying healthy. If we stay healthy and they go out with the mentality to treat every game like it's a playoff game, I think the Dolphins are going to shock the NFL. That's my opinion on it, and I believe that's going to stand.
Richmond, what are your thoughts on the rankings? Because I actually had us as the 4th or 5th best team, depending on what the quarterback situation in San Fran was. If they got it figured out, I had us as the 5th best team. If they don't have it figured out, I had us as the 4th best team behind the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Eagles, just because those 3 teams ahead of us have so much playoff experience compared to where we're at. But I agree with BallGame's assessment. Our roster can go up against any team in the NFL. It don't matter who you are or where you're ranked. And what are your thoughts on? So, what are your thoughts on those ranking at 6? But what are also your thoughts on? Do you think they've made enough additions to really fix that defense? That, quite frankly, we went over it every week last. We had constantly a top 10 scoring offense, but we were allowing more points as a defense for a while there, or just as many points as a defense per game as our top scoring offense. Do you think they've done enough to fix all that?
Yeah, I do. I think the biggest addition was Fangio. I think he could take the pieces and put it together like what it was. But when you add a piece like Jalen Ramsey, it gives you that shutdown ability on when you got 2 good corners like that. It really, you can really struggle. And like BallGame said, that frees up Holland. And then Chubb had played under him at Denver. So with Chubb and Phillips, pass rush, I think Chubb is definitely looking forward to it. And I think, even though he was acquired via free agent, I think he's had something to prove because he didn't put up the production that he wanted to put up last year coming over. I know he got hurt a little bit or whatever, but when you got guys that, hold themselves in high regard or hold themselves to a higher standard to produce, and you get in a defense that you're going to love, I think it's a benefit for everybody. And I think it's going to probably get back to, I think it's the first year that Brian Flores was here. The defense was making a lot of plays, but they were having fun. So you can imagine if you can imagine if they get to having fun over there, and you got Tyreek hyping everybody up on the offense, having fun. I agree with both of y'all. I think we're one of the best teams in the league. We can match up with anybody, and just with the additions we did on defense, that really pushed us right up there with everybody to where Everybody's looking over their shoulders. And man, we're gonna have to play when we go up against the Dolphins because they got a nice little squad, this and that. So it's not a secret anymore, but we just got to meet the expectations. But I think those guys are hungry, and I think they're ready to take it to the next level.
That's a good point, man. If they're having fun on both sides of the football, we might be the most dangerous team in the NFL, and it might not be close.
Tell you, man.
Oh my god, dude! Over 305 people in the room right now. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Gentlemen, which rookie, UDFA, or through the draft, do you think is going to have the biggest impact for the Miami Dolphins in 2023? I mean, you already know what my answer is going to be. All aboard the A-Chain train. Hey, I don't know if you guys heard, but he's already up to 192. And he had an interview, and he told everyone he was done.
Here he come.
He said exactly what I said too. He said, "I'm transforming my body to a football body now. I don't have to cut weight for track. I'm good to go." And
here we come.
So but you also got Cam Smith, you got Brandon Pilley, you got Aubrey Miller, who I heard internally these guys love, and he could make impacts on special teams and on snaps he gets. On linebacker, if he makes a team, you got a lot of options here. You got, what if Michael Turk takes out Jake Bailey and all of a sudden our punter is a rookie? A lot of big plays could come from being pinned inside the 20. So there's a lot of different options here. Who do you guys think? Let's start off with BallGame. Well, no, let's start off with, we know where this man's going. He's wearing the colors already. Richmond, which rookie do you think is going to have the biggest impact for the Miami Dolphins? I think even if Dalvin Cook comes here, A-Chain's still going to have a significant impact, brother.
Yeah, it's hard to go against A-Chain, and I think it's the opportunities that he will get. I think Cam Smith could be really good too if he can work his way into like a nickel package or something like that. But I think with A-Chain, I think the thing is, he can play running back. With that speed, he could possibly play in the slot. He did kickoff returns at Texas A&M, so he has more opportunities to make the big plays and this and that. And once he hits that crease, man, if you miss that tackle, he just looks at the end zone. I never see him look to the right or left, see who's beside him or whatever, this and that. And like you said, the good thing is he's able to bulk up now. And I remember that was a big concern for everybody because they were saying, he's 180-something pounds and he's too small. He's going to get hurt. And I remember you saying, he ran track in offseason. That's what he did. But he's not doing that anymore. So he's just focusing on one sport now, and that's football. And I would have to say A-Chain, but I'd be happy if we were sitting here arguing at the end of the year of who actually made the biggest impact for this team, because the more rookies you get to step up and help you, that'd be good. But if I had to pick one, it would be A-Chain right now.
All right, BallGame.
So
who's your
so I'm gonna go with So I'm gonna go with a guy who went to a college that's known for athletics, not so much for their football program, but he was the top wide receiver option that they had. He just couldn't keep on the weight enough to be able to be a tight end for them, which is what they wanted him to be, but he was their top option, top receiving. I'm gonna go with Higgins, man. And I think Higgins,
I like it.
I think he enhances the passing tree and passing possibilities for Mike with, his speed and his size and his willingness to run block, right? Anywhere they put him, right? Because he had to do a lot of that at Stanford. And I think if he can just pick up the playbook fast enough, he might be the steal. Because then you're taking a guy at his size that can move like he can move, that can run routes like he does, who can catch the ball. And now you got a whole nother aspect and area of the field that this guy can affect all by himself. Because now you got Waddle on one side, Tyreek on the other side. You got whichever one of those running backs in the backfield. But you got Sayed in the slot, possibly. And then you can swap Sled out put Devin in the slot because he can run routes from the slot as well. And then you got Higgins, right? All these guys and Barrios, all these guys with all this route running ability, right? And you got think about his size though. He's a hybrid, bro. He's gonna be he can be the hybrid. If he put on weight too to get up to maybe 242, 245, that's one hell of a
that's what he said the goal is.
Target. Yeah,
that's what he said. That's what he said. The goal is he wants to be by the end of training camp. He wants to be 240, 245.
I expect Cam Smith and A-Chain to do things. I think Higgins is going to be the surprise of the draft, though, in terms of immediate impact right away and their ability to scheme things up to be able to take advantage of what he brings to the table. And that's what I will be doing because I'd be like, damn, that big ass frame, and he can move as well with speed and agility and route running, which we didn't have with Mike. Come on, bruh.
I think he's gonna day one he'll leap Tanner Connor. It won't even be close.
That part.
It won't even be close.
Yeah.
I think it's the key thing you talked about, right? He's a good blocker, man. He's willing and he's good. Now he's just got to learn how to block in line. But if you're willing and
block in line. Yep.
Listen, if you're a quick study, like you were mentioning, if he's a quick study, if you're a quick study, you'll be fine. Like I agree. You know what? To be honest with you, it was between Aubrey, Miller, because I have a feeling this kid's gonna. I have a feeling he might make Duke Riley by the end of the year. Kind of, I don't know. Like I think he's gonna end up getting some snaps. Aubrey, it was between Aubrey, Elijah, or A-Chain for me because I'm with you. I think Elijah's gonna sneak up on a lot of people, man. And when you look at Saubert's only on a 1-year deal, they don't really have any reason to invest targets into Saubert. They got more reason to invest that into Elijah Higgins, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm actually doing my prospect profile on him this weekend too. So I think this kid's gonna sneak up on kids. So yeah, that's a good call, ball game. Guys, I don't know if you had a chance to check the link that I sent you, but CBS is disrespectful.
No, they never.
Ranking. They think we're only gonna 8 and 9, gentlemen. 8 and 9.
Yeah, who's smoking? Yeah.
Is there any world you see? I don't see that. Like everyone would have to get injured.
That's them. That's them. Sack riding Rodgers.
It's nonstop with this guy, eh? It is really nonstop with Aaron Rodgers, man. But the disrespect. 8 and 9. Like, what did everyone in the secondary and Tua get hurt? I don't want to understand what happened because if you got a top 10 defense, I still think you got a chance.
CBS,
here, right? Yeah, CBS.
Yeah, common BS.
Yeah, common BS. There you go. We got over 325 of y'all in the room. Please do us a favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, gentlemen?
Yeah, my final thought is I'm kind of glad CBS did that. It's almost like when you come up to a man and slap him, you're going to see how he's going to respond. And
post it on the wall, baby.
Post it on locker room. That don't piss you off no more than that. I mean, and then the sad part about it is they have Buffalo, they have New England, they have the Jet, they have everybody in front of us. So that's total disrespect. So it's time to quit talking and just say, okay, well, we're gonna put this up on the board, and we're gonna make y'all. We can show you better. We can tell you, but that was jacked up. I just shook my head. I said, man, really? Come on. But everybody's loving the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers went there. But yeah, like you said, BallGame, we must not gonna have no DBs playing in the game. Maybe we go out there about 5 or 6 players and just say, hey, man, y'all go with 11. We're gonna go with about 6 or 7 to see if we can get. But that would shook me up. But yeah, when I looked at the you sent the little link and stuff, and I looked at it, I just said, man, come on, bro. But no, other than that, I'm good. I think, like I said, I'm just scratching the days off, waiting on the calendar. I like the moves and everything the team has done. I think it's gonna carry over, and I think we're gonna be real happy. So no, other than that, I'm good, bro.
BallGame, final thoughts?
once again, best time of the year, man, for the coaches, man. Sitting in the labs, man, cooking up ideas and schemes and possibilities, and then they get an opportunity here not too soon from now to go out here and execute and put things in motion.
Yeah.
I don't even get into the whole worrying about what nobody else think we're gonna be, because when I think about that, I know that there's a whole lot of bias in the NFL, and a lot of people just don't really know what the hell they talk about half the time. They get a job, get an assignment, and don't do any research. Just go with the status quo because a big name moves somewhere. Don't mean that they're gonna have productivity. So whoever that was at CBS, just know I'm gonna find out who it was that put it out, and I'm gonna remind you every week. when your projection go wrong, you're gonna get dragged for it. I promise you that. I'm gonna make it my personal business to do that this year. I don't usually get into the pettiness, but the King Petty is here, buddy. 8 and 9, yeah, that's very disrespectful. Whoever you are, I will find you. It's on and popping.
This guy Liam Neeson from Taking. I will find you. Oh man, jeez. Oh, hopefully you're not at a Home Depot where it's over in an instant. Yeah, because my whole thing is, listen, my final thought here is, the Rodgers and disrespect towards us. It's like these people didn't watch the Green Bay game and see that it took a concussion to Tua for Rodgers to even get on his level. I'm sorry. And you know what? I look at that. Listen, I like Garrett Wilson, but guess what? In Miami, Garrett Wilson's wide receiver 3. And you look at what they've added behind, do Alan Lazard and those guys scare me? No. And I look at I got Jets fans all in a bunch because you look at what Waddle did to Sauce off the ball, turning him inside out with his route running ability. I ain't worried about that, man. We look at the Jets. How many games of the Jets last year did Sauce have to face Tua? So we're going to see what you made of this year, Sauce, and you can get worked, all right? So I ain't even worried, man. I'm not worried. We're going to win this division, and I think listen, if what Richmond said happens and both sides of the football are having fun, I'm going to use this word right now. If that happens and health is on our side, we are going to be we might be unstoppable. So anyways, gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with Neil Driscoll, another episode of Fin Too Deep. Be on the lookout for that. And then we'll be live this weekend for a prospect profile of Elijah Higgins. Until next time, you already know what time it is, baby. We'll see you on the next one. Fins up all day, every day. Go Heat.
Go Heat.
See y'all.